So you talk about flexibility of configuration, of integration. What about, what other advantages do you see or strengths do you see when you compare D365 to other technologies or solutions in the market? Are there other like functional or technical strengths that you see?
I think the integration to the Microsoft Office platform is really strong, and people are comfortable with it. Not only can you export to Excel, but you can actually open certain things in Excel, manipulate the data there if you want to do mass updates, and then publish that into Dynamics straight from Excel. You're not going to find that deep integration as much in other ERP systems.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. I think a lot of software vendors are trying to do that, and they have some amount of integration to Office, but not the same way D365 does.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft will let them get quite all the way there.
Right.
Particularly in the CRM, right, with Outlook contacts and managing emails and so on and so forth. That's another, really well done integration.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. What about the user interface and just the Microsoft look and feel? How big of an advantage is that? Is it an advantage, first of all? And how do you see that affecting sort of user adoption or just ease of use and that sort of thing?
Well, I guess maybe a personal point of view is it doesn't feel as much of a website as some of the other ERP systems do. It feels like I'm more in a system and not working through a website as much. And for some people that could be a pro, and for other people that'll be a con, for sure. But I do like some of the flexibility and being able to navigate through screens, setting up your own personal views, and in some cases making those views public. Right, if you get a good look. Good looking screen, and one that you've maybe added a few columns to that aren't in the quote out of the box view, and then you can publish that to let's say your customer service team if you're a customer service manager, and now you know that everyone's working off one sheet of music.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what about the the downside? You talked about how the flexibility is a pro and a con, or a strength and a weakness, but are there other weaknesses of the product that you might point out just to be aware of so we can navigate those as we're implementing the solution?
Well, I don't know if this is so much a weakness of the product, but the implementations are hard and cumbersome on the client, both in terms of the configurations that we talked about earlier. There's just a lot of decisions to be made, a lot of involvement that the client's going to have to get it right. That's not so much different from other systems, but in Microsoft, there are so many things you have to consider and make decisions on that the client's got to be, very keenly engaged and aware of what their SI is needing to keep the project moving.
Yeah, that's a great point. That flexibility piece, the dark side of flexibility really does kind of percolate or trickle through the entire project for sure.
Yeah, I know we keep coming back to it, but I do believe it's probably the biggest pro and perhaps the biggest con of the Dynamics system.
Yeah. What do you see as the biggest advantage or business benefit of using the product, either based on your customer facing side experience or as a consultant? Where do you see the biggest business value for companies that deploy D365?
I think it's very, very likely that you will be able to get it to configure your entire end-to-end business. Now, you might have to bring in some of the ISVs to do that, but they exist, right? They all exist. So it's quite likely you'll be able to get everything you need under one roof at the end of the day.
Right.